Hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video I'm going to be doing my prediction for the Erceg versus Moreno fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So this is a return for UFC Mexico. Obviously last time out Moreno had an excellent victory against Albazi, and that was a winning return in which he definitely needed in his career. And so it was good to see that Moreno was back, because I feel like he looked excellent in that fight, and I feel like he got his kind of groove back. He was able to get in his flow state, and he was definitely able to have a lot more success. I mean, by the end he was doing kind of front flips to be able to land shots and really just enjoying himself. And that's the Moreno in which I feel like is the most dangerous, the most deadly, and the best of Brandon Moreno, and we just haven't seen that in a little while. And perhaps it is, the Mexican crowd getting behind him. Perhaps it was Albazi's style. I feel like Albazi's style was always going to kind of favour Moreno, because Albazi is a striker, he's a clean striker, but he needs that time, he needs to be able to fight at his own pace, and Moreno was never going to allow him to do that. And so, it was an excellent performance from him last time out, and now he's back in Mexico. Obviously last time he sold excellent numbers out in Mexico. For a fight night it was immense numbers, and he's taking another fighter there, bringing another fighter to fight at the altitude in which you have to fight at in Mexico. It's a very tough ask. Obviously Moreno's used to it because of, that will be where he will train, but somebody like an Erceg, to be able to bring anybody there who doesn't train at that kind of level of altitude, you have to really settle in, and you really have to be able to go there and have enough time there. And sometimes a few weeks of a training camp, a couple months of a training camp isn't enough, and it's definitely going to test Erceg. I mean, Erceg in himself is coming off a bad knockout defeat. It's interesting to see that he's even been given an opportunity to fight against Brandon Moreno. I feel like perhaps it's to an extent a tick-over fight for Brandon Moreno, because, I mean, Kai Kara-France badly knocked out Erceg, and he'd also lost before that, of course, fighting Pantoja for the title. Obviously Moreno isn't on the best of runs himself, but he's still ranked second in the division, and he's coming off a very good victory. And it's just not a matchup that really, the stars haven't really aligned for the fight, and I just don't feel like it's a fight that particularly makes sense. But nonetheless, like I say, it's still happening. You got to give Erceg the credit to be able, for even accepting this fight, for wanting to fight the top guys all the time. And it's just showcasing that the flyweight division is still in a tricky position. There's still kind of lots of fights in which aren't there, and I feel like there's lots of fighters that need to be pushed into the division to be able to really create excitement for the division again. And I just don't know if necessarily there's enough people there. I mean, there's talks about the UFC bringing in another Japanese star, possibly I believe from Ryzen, and so that could maybe stir things up again. Then we'll have Asakura, we'll have Tyra, and we'll have this new Japanese fighter all in the division, all great Japanese fighters. That could, like I say, create some interest. But what they did with Asakura, obviously it was good and it was exciting and it was interesting for the division, but it just wasn't enough to be able to really excite fans for the division again, and I don't feel like this matchup is going to do that. Of course, it's ranked 8th fighter Steven Erceg versus ranked 2nd fighter Moreno. It just doesn't really make sense, and their rankings are there for a reason, but then the UFC maths never add up. So I suppose that's the only kind of argument as to why this fight is happening. But obviously Moreno, he's the favourite by far. I think that Moreno is going to be able to win via unanimous decision. I think he's going to be able to win comfortably. I think Erceg has good boxing, perhaps better boxing than Albazi. I would have liked to have seen an Erceg versus Albazi fight, to be completely honest, because I feel like that would have been two excellent boxers going at it. But I feel like Erceg has shown that he can struggle with explosiveness. Obviously he was a bit too relaxed against Kai Kara-France, and then was getting caught with the big overhand. That was the one time in which he got caught was against Kara-France. There was a few times in which Kara-France kind of went for the attack, went for the big overhand, and it just took one attempt and then he was able to knock him out. And I don't feel like Moreno quite has as much power as that of a Kara-France, but I feel like Moreno can definitely wear you down better. Like I say, fight at the altitude better, and Erceg I feel like will slow down throughout the fight, Moreno will come into it more. Like I say, Erceg might be able to cause Moreno problems through his excellent boxing. His boxing is amazing and it doesn't get as much credit, but I still think it's going to be a very tricky night for Erceg. And yeah, like I say, Moreno unanimous decision is what I'm going to go with. Then who he could fight next, like I say, there's some good fights possibly available. I mean, an Asakura fight could be a good fight, and he's come in at 15th in the rankings. Obviously he had his first fight and went for a title shot. I wasn't too sure where he'd come into the rankings. Obviously they put him at 15th because of course he lost versus Pantoja, but he's still showcase that he can be entertaining, and there's definitely matchups there. And even if you put these guys in for title shots and they don't win, at least there's another face in the division. Like I've been talking about, the division needs that. So something like an Asakura, that could be a good fight for Moreno. If not, Manuel could be a great fight. I mean, Carp was meant to fight Royval. If that fight doesn't happen, then that could be an excellent fight, and perhaps I'd be more up for seeing a Moreno versus a Carp than a Carp versus Royval. That's just my preference, but I feel like that could make for an entertaining fight. Or, like I say, Tyra could be a good fight as well. Of course, Tyra is coming off a defeat versus Royval. Moreno, of course, lost to Royval. Split decision for both of them. Could be an excellent fight to be made as well. Another couple fights in which I wanted to touch upon. I'm not going to do a prediction for, but I feel like this UFC fight night isn't quite getting the credit in which it deserves. I don't think it was as good of a fight night as what we saw in London just last weekend, but I still think it's a good fight night. And we've got Torres versus Dober. Dober hasn't had a win since 2023, didn't get a win last year, but he was on a good run before that, and he's facing up against tough Mexican Torres, another up and comer. Got to always respect Dober for taking the risks, and he's a Kevin Holland type fighter to an extent. Doesn't fight quite as much, but still that could be an excellent fight as well. And then one which I'm really excited for is Gastelum versus Pyfer. Of course, Pyfer had the opportunity to fight when he fought Jack Manson, and he lost that one. That was quite a surprising loss, but Gastelum's been in with some of the best. He's had some amazing fights, and in the middleweight division, I feel like this could be a great power kind of matchup between the two of them. And so yeah, I think that has all the makings to be an excellent fight, and I'm definitely going to be intrigued for that one as well. So like I say, not a crazily good UFC fight night, but not a bad one either. There's definitely has been worse, even just this year. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.